The following broadcast of Funny Sports on VAC TV is supported by Joseph's Restaurant.
3, 2, 1.
Touchdown, Stillwater!
Look out. Beautiful! And one!
Middle to score!
It's time for Chapter 10 of this long-standing Class 3A volleyball rivalry. Valley Access Channels brings you high school volleyball. The #1 Eagan Wildcats pay a visit to face the Stillwater Ponies. I'm Mike Eagan. She is North St. Paul head coach Stephanie Blanda. Stephanie, you had a chance to see this new-look Stillwater team on Thursday. Your team knocked off the Ponies 3-1. A lot of new faces for Stillwater. How is that going to affect chemistry against the #1 team in the state?
Well, it's still really early in the season, so I think it'll have some play in this game tonight. Yeah.
And for Eagan, they last won a state title in 2016, but they are always a perennial. They have not had a losing season since 2010 when this series began. They came up short against Champlain Park in the championship round last year. This is a tough early season test.
Yeah, they've been in the state tournament. How many of the for the last?
It seems like forever, doesn't it?
It seems like forever. Yes, last year they lost to Champlain Park. The year before that was Lakeville North. And I think it was in 2016 and 2015 that they won the state title, and I'm not sure, can't remember what happened before that. They're always a tough team. They're always on point.
But Eagan will start without one of their key contributors in Kennedy Orr. I understand she has a USA volleyball commitment, so she's a scratch. But this lineup is loaded.
The lineup is loaded, but without Kennedy, Stillwater is probably a little bit happy about that. I know I would be.
And for Stillwater, as we said, a lot of new faces, but anchoring this team is Maddie Whittington, the Illinois recruit. You saw it on Thursday. She still has a massive swing.
Massive. She's always our main focus over these past couple years. I mean, just throwing the hammer down.
And not only do they have a deep regular season history, these two teams met in the semifinal round a year ago. It was Eagan who defeated Stillwater in 4 sets. Stillwater took the first set and had a chance to close out, I believe, in the second set. Eagan was able to rebound, and then that's when the tide turned. Coincidentally, in that North St. Paul game, I don't know, I'm not the greatest line judge in the world, but I'm wondering if Maddie Whittington didn't make contact with that ball at set point for Stillwater, 25-24, I think it was. Stillwater may have taken the set. Who knows what would have happened, but that was a turning point for your Polars.
What are you doing? Are you
in set 3. Don't you remember?
Yeah, well, I mean, yes. But I think I do anyway. On the line, did you say?
Lauren Stedman hit a ball. Yeah. It was deep.
Oh, right.
And Stillwater's players, they were calling out. Maddie made a play for it.
Just got to trust the line judges, Mike.
Well, she made a play for it, and the ball, who knows?
Oh,
so her teammates are calling it out.
Yes.
She made a play for it, and then so instead of
her.
Yes, so
right.
Instead of Stillwater point, you got the point.
Yep.
Took set 3, cruised in set 4, and look what you did in section 4, 3A. Eagan serving first. This is KT Pernsteiner. Stillwater will receive. And a fine serve by Pernsteiner. That jams Savannah Vincent. A good start for the Wildcats. As you know, best of 5. First 4 sets up to 25. 5th set up to 15. And you got to win by 2 or more. Eagan on the attack. Off speed by Sienna Eiffel. Whittington, oh, right idea, but a little too soft, and that will be a hitting error on the senior. So Eagan off to a fine beginning. They beat Bloomington Kennedy and Chanhassen in convincing fashion. That was deflected.
That was a kill by Whittington.
Yes. You were telling me pregame, Stephanie, Eagan may have won those first 2 matches in 30 minutes.
What?
Bloomington Kennedy, Chanhassen.
Oh, no, I was guessing. I was asking you. I have no idea.
They were straight set wins. It probably took only 30 minutes.
Okay.
Knowing how this Eagan team has operated over the years. Attack from the left side is rebuffed. They go up the middle. And that goes out of bounds. That was Abby Moe who tried to get Stillwater with the off-speed hit. And now it's 2-2 in the first set. 2 years ago, when Eagan last paid a visit here, it went the distance. A 5-set thriller won by the Wildcats. Here's Eiffel. Nice. Abby Moe serving. This Isabel Primo blocked. And Eagan's got a big-time blocker up front. That is 6'5", Kendall Kemp.
Well, they have that double block with a 6'5" and a 6'1". It's tough to get around.
And that's Sydney Desjardins with the kill going cross-court. Desjardins, this year's performer of the Star Spangled Banner, traditionally a Stillwater athlete, does the honors for home games. Last year it was Brooke Aschenbrenner. In fact, Brooke's services were used at a Forest Lake game. This year, Sydney Desjardins gets the honor.
Okay, number 10, Stillwater's
Lucy Zoller.
Lucy Zoller. Tough server. Let's see what she can do.
And there's Kendall Kemp, rejected by the 6'4" Maddie Whittington. Stillwater lost a lot of height compared to last year. You remember, up front you had Whittington, Reese Kohler, Brooke Aschenbrenner, 6'4" and a pair of 6-footers. This year, they're a little smaller. Here's Eiffel. Dug by Springer, but overpass into the net. Stephanie, you can attest to this at North St. Paul. You don't have the tallest team, so for a group like Stillwater who has a smaller front row, how do they compensate?
Did you say a smaller front row?
Well, Maddie Whittington, as Maddie Olchen gets the kill. You've got Whittington at 6'4".
Olchen is actually 5'9".
Olchen is 5'9", but I'm saying compared to last year, you had a couple of 6-footers alongside Whittington. This year, Maddie, Sid Schaefer, and Meredith Bruning, you're only players above 6 feet. And Schaefer and Whittington, the only regulars.
So it's obviously a little more difficult when you have the above 6-foot people. But what really matters is their movement along the net and their timing on the block. So you could have a tall person that's off or can't get there, and then you're missing them. So you really have to make them move.
Juergens with the hitting error for the Wildcats, and the Ponies have a 6-4 lead in the first set. Olchen blocked, and I believe that was the 6'5" tower known as Kendall Kemp.
You don't want to hit right into that. It's tough.
It's almost like for you, it's someone hitting into Yaisa Franco. She was ready in that game on Thursday.
She's a beast.
She was not intimidated in the slightest, as you've got to look. Franco going to LaSalle. Here's Desjardins, off speed. Picked up by the Wildcats. They attack from the left side, try an off-speed hit of their own. Stillwater picks that up. Springer will send a freebie over to the Wildcats. They will set up for Kemp. Just inside the line. That was close. You have a look on your face that suggests...
I don't know. I probably have a bad angle.
That was a close call. Break for the Wildcats. There's Sid Schaefer. One of the new faces for the Ponies this year. Olchen. Dug by Samara Amador, I believe. Yep. A 5'5" sophomore for Eagan. Desjardins again. That is out of bounds. 7-6, Eagan. They've scored the last 3 points.
We're pretty even on kills and hitting errors in this game so far.
That would make sense with a 7-6 score.
Correct.
Desjardins fires. Amador with the dig. Desjardins with the block. Point Ponies. It's a lucky time to be a volleyball fan, as we are even at lucky 7. And I'll show myself out. Gabrielle Bogle serving for the Ponies. And I believe number 5, Lauren Rineker, got a piece of it. Olchen out of bounds. This is the first of 2 live games we'll have for you on Valley Access Channels. We'll be back on October 1st when the Ponies host Eastridge. That game will likely decide the Suburban East Conference. Schaefer blocked, and Stillwater can't recover.
Can't recover, but that was a good cover.
Abby Moe up front that time, 6'2", as you noted. A couple of towers up front. 6'2", Abby Moe, 6'5", Kendall Kemp. Moe is at the front line right now, Kemp on the bench, but that is due to the rotation. That's not an indicator of her playing ability. Moe again. This time, Bogle was able to make the read. And we continue. Blocked. Stillwater with a free ball. As Bogle had to dive for it. Springer with the up. Olchin will try on the left side. The longest rally so far of this set. Reneker inside the line. Lauren Reneker got the start against your North St. Paul team on Thursday, and Bob Fisher, Stillwater's head coach, noted this will be another good learning experience for a lot of these players who did not see much playing time a year ago. It was a senior-heavy lineup.
Absolutely. I think that it helps to play tougher teams at the beginning of your season, sometimes for that reason.
Lauren Redeker with the swat. And I agree with you. You look at the teams Stillwater has played, and you look at the teams Eagan has played, Bloomington, Kennedy, Chanhassen, some of that is section alignment, but Stillwater, they started the season against Minnetonka at the Side-Out Classic, then continued their series with Elk River. That will be a point for Mo as she found the corner. And then played North St. Paul, a team that went the distance 5 sets last year in the section final. Ted LaRue, our director, and I were there for that epic contest, and who can forget it? It was riveting.
A lot of counter shots.
Savannah Vincent paints the corner, and I mean paints the corner.
Staying in between the lines.
As long as it finds its way inside the line, that's what counts. And we're tied at 10. Eagan says right back at you. That's Ling Wong, the 5'10 senior outside hitter. And this game starting much like Thursday's game. Neither team can shake the other. KT Pernsteiner back on the service. A little off balance, and that's going to be a point for the Wildcats. They call it double contact. And you saw Gabrielle Bogle on 1 foot. It was not the pass she wanted. It wasn't on target, and it cost them.
So much of this game in which you're able to run is dependent on that pass on, well, serve, receive, and free balls. And
you saw that deep serve by Pernsteiner. Vincent, another difficult serve receive, and there's another one. Stillwater with a free ball, and they almost got a point out of it. Eiffel goes off speed. Let's see if Stillwater can settle down a bit. Yes, they can. Lauren Reneker. But as you noted, that's actually good for Stillwater. Pernsteiner was jamming them on the serve, and so now that gets her out of the service spot. 13-11. Eagan over Stillwater. Olivia Foss, the 5'7 sophomore. We're seeing a few younger players get some reps out there for the Ponies. Whittington deflected it, then sent it back up. That's going to be a point for Eagan nonetheless. Sienna Eiffel, the 6'1 sophomore. Kathy Gillen, the head coach of the Wildcats. The assistants are Kelly Schlegel, Tim Owen, Steve Elliott, Susie Haleman, Isia Redig, and Sarah Osberg. Volleyball and soccer have been strengths for the Wildcats in recent years. And Springer, that was a soft lob right into Kendall Kemp. As you said earlier, you can't take Kendall Kemp like that.
No, but it was a good dig attempt with the foot. You did know that you can use your foot, right?
Yes, you can, as long as it doesn't touch the ground. Another block as Desjardins tried the attack. So Jurgensen Kemp helping Eagan get some separation. 16-11.
And Kemp is only a sophomore.
Another difficult serve receive. And another free ball for the Wildcats. They'll set up for Jurgens. And that almost hit our monitor. Let's see if I can get the ball. Well, we got a timeout. Hey, you want to know? There we go. Well, we missed it. I got the ball.
So, started off a little even. Eagan is up by 6 right now. It seems like they're kind of starting to get in their element. They're moving well in the blocking, so is Stillwater. Stillwater's having a little bit of a difficulty hitting around their big block at the moment. So if they can start working around that, I think they'll get right back in it.
I've noticed over the last few points, Eagan's service game is also making a difference. Stillwater with some difficult serve receives, and as we've seen, one little miscue or one little sidestep can affect an entire play, and Stillwater not getting the hits I think they want on offense.
Absolutely. So on your serve receive, any pass that's off the net that takes you out of system, you don't have the option of using all of your hitters. It's easier for the other team to determine where you're going with the ball and move there faster. So that 3 pass on the serve receive really makes a big difference in what you can run and kind of how you can get a score around the other team.
I want to know what you thought of the soundtrack that played during the Stillwater timeout. If you were telling me your North St. Paul players don't necessarily appreciate the classics. Whittington denied. Stillwater able to save it. Oh, Whittington into the net. Well, hold that thought, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Hold that thought.
About the music?
Yes. We might have another timeout here.
Not so soon.
Before long, right. Not the ATO sequence you wanted, though, if you're the Ponies. Eiffel, running lob.
Great up.
Indeed. And a point for Eagan. Olivia Foss tried to catch Eagan off guard. You'll see that sometimes in volleyball. Stillwater in particular likes to run a 2-touch set at times. I don't know if that's what you call it, but will you only take 2 touches before sending it over?
Like a set or dump, or?
Yeah, a dump, I guess.
Okay.
Point for the Ponies.
You mean when the setter sends the ball over?
Yes, you don't use all 3. I know Bria Sandiford does that sometimes.
Okay, so that's a setter dump.
I've been wanting to know what that's been called for over a year.
Okay. Well, now you know.
Setter dump.
Yeah.
Yes. We need a volleyball for dummies, or I like the terminology.
It just took me a minute to understand what you were talking about. Yeah, that's something that can catch the other team off guard. She got right through the hole in that block. Number 15,
Christine Jurgens. It's okay, Stephanie. I need an hour to figure out what I'm saying every day. To figure out what I'm talking about. Eagan pulling away in set number 1. Whittington with the teardrop. Eagan stays with it. It was tied 10-10. Eagan on a 10-2 run since. Stillwater able to get the save, but double contact was called on Desjardins. And it's 11-2.
So Stillwater at this point has 3 ball handling errors. There's a serve in the net.
A rare service error on Eagan.
Large spread, so not that you want those, but large spread right now. So
well, we saw it on Thursday. North St. Paul and Stillwater both had moments where they were up big and the other team rallied back. So
yeah, don't remind me.
In rally scoring.
It happens. And that means that the team is in the game mentally.
Well, Eagan's certainly in this game.
They are. I may be a little off on my count, but they're around 10 kills and Stillwater has 6, just to give you some perspective of what's affecting that score.
And
as far as errors, they're pretty even right now.
I imagine I was going to say hitting percentage favoring Eagan at this point. Desjardins. Eagan can't save it that time. And
off the fingertips.
Right, and with rally scoring, even if you don't take this first set, as I noted, if you can get on some kind of rally, even 4 or 5 points, just get yourself in some kind of rhythm entering set number 2. Gabrielle Bogle, the 5'7" sophomore, back to serve. Springer with the up. Bogle, the pass. Wilton, and that was, yep, I saw it. So Eagan gives Stillwater a point on the net touch. You can up a ball with your foot, but you cannot touch the net.
Correct. You also can't go under the net. Don't go over that line.
That would be really silly. As Lauren Reneker scores, and now Stillwater getting a few points in their favor. They've scored 3 in a row, but how silly would that look if you could just roll underneath the center line?
There's a lot of sprained ankles in volleyball from people doing that.
Probably a good thing that you can't cross it.
Correct.
A one-handed dig by Olchin, but another free ball for the Wildcats. They've had plenty of those in this first set. And that will be a point. Emma Barron with the kill, the 5'8" sophomore.
She had a great reach on that ball.
I should say 6-foot sophomore. 6-foot sophomore. I better not shortchange this Eagan team. Hitting error, and Eagan will have 8 set points to work with. Kaylin Madison, 5'9" defensive specialist. And Stillwater picks up another point thanks to Maddie Olchin. We'll see if they can go on a rally here. It was even to start. Then a series of serves, particularly by Pernsteiner, knocked Stillwater out of their rhythm momentarily, and as a result, the Wildcats are trying to close out the first set, but having a little bit of difficulty, a hitting error, and it's 24-18. Savannah Vincent, the 5'4" junior. Blocked. Madison with the up. Here's Reneker, and that hit the antenna. That will... No? Yes.
Oh, yeah, it did. Okay.
I thought it hit the antenna. So Eagan does take the first set 25-18, and we'll break down the first set in a moment. You're watching high school volleyball on Back TV.
Dora knows better than anyone. The best place to explore is the forest.
She knows this monkey? Of course she knows this monkey.
Experience nature.
Let's go.
Connect with family.
I love you guys.
And find your own adventure in a forest or park near you.
Let's do this. Come on, Boots.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest or park near you.
There. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Can I tell you another one? So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it. What's Beethoven's favorite fruit? Banana. What is a boxer's favorite drink? Fruit punch.
For more than 40 years, Joseph's Restaurant has had your favorite pies and been a can't-miss stop for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But have you stopped in lately to see what's new at Joseph's? A new and improved bar area is great for meeting some friends or watching the game. If you're a little toasty inside, come outside on the patio at Joseph's to enjoy your meal in the fresh Minnesota air. Whether past or present, Joseph's is the place to be, right off Highway 36 in Oak Park Heights.
We're back. Set number 2 will start momentarily. Stephanie explained the intricacies of the setter dump. I'm glad I finally learned that term after a year of calling this sport.
What were you calling it before?
Well, just a 2-touch because it is 2 touches, but with volleyball, there aren't a lot of folks who can explain the X's and O's like you just did. And you were jotting down some of the numbers. Again, they tend to favor Eagan, as they did take the first set 25-18. You're watching live volleyball and Back TV. And Stephanie, what do you have for us?
You know, I just, it seemed like that was a little more of a mental spurt for Stillwater that got them behind. They had some unforced errors. My error count, which I was a little bit off because we sit here and chat, but 9-5. I mean, that just makes a huge difference. Those little things add up in the score. And they're going to, I think, this game do a better job of hitting around the big block that Eagan has.
We shall see. That big block includes Kendall Kemp. And if you enjoy live sports, we'll be back Friday for high school football. Ted LaRue and Mr. Roseville, Jerry Otto, will call Stillwater versus Roseville football. Live on VAC TV, Channel 15, and on YouTube. As fall sports is underway. First day of school for most of the public school districts. State fair is over. I know you had your fill.
Full of fair food. How
right.
about you, Mike?
I did too. Made a couple of visits full of food and adult beverages.
Oh. Well then.
Hey, I ate enough food to make sure I didn't eat anything crazy, but summer is over. School's back in session. Stillwater serving, and what an up by the Ponies. They can't save it. That was a tough attack.
Line shot.
Sienna Eiffel, that was a laser.
I like the term laser. That was a great shot. Kind of what, on the 15-foot line maybe?
And that serve straddles the net. Abby Moe will get the service ace. The running joke, of course, if you could ever master that shot, you would.
Well, that's a let serve. And,
okay.
People do actually practice them at practice.
A let serve. That makes sense. Jurgens. She was blocked. Now Stillwater trying to get on the board. Again, Kendall Kemp up front. You got to get around that block, and that will be a hitting error on Reneker. Let makes sense. They call it the same thing in tennis if it straddles the net and stays in play.
Yeah, it can be very effective because it'll just do that drop thing and can't get there quick enough.
It alters the trajectory.
Correct.
And that will be another ace for Abby Moe. And Eagan serve. It made a difference in the first set, and Abby Moe has delivered a couple of strong serves here. Stillwater still having a hard time with serve receive. And they can't do much with it. Eagan with a chance.
Nice cut shot. Great dig.
That was Vincent on the up. And that will be a point for Tori Lilligren, the 5'10 freshman.
I was a little bit right in that campfire there. I think you saw how they all looked at each other, unsure of who was going for it.
The campfire. That's a fitting term.
Is that new to you?
That is new to me. There's a similar term in baseball. They call it the triangle of death.
Okay, well, I'm going to start calling it that.
But sometimes, yeah, you're unsure of it. Maddie Whittington fires, and the up by Bernsteiner. Eiffel goes cross court. We play on. DeJarnett. And that will be a point for the Wildcats as the block went right back to DeJarnett, and she had her back turned to the ball. Not much you could do there.
Trying for the tip, she didn't quite make it. Right idea if you're not trying to hit right into that block, you're too close to the net.
Another fine serve by the Wildcats. I believe that's 3 points unofficially in this set that have been created off serves. Whittington fires.
You saw how that great 3-pass set the tone on that. You're not able to set up your biggest hitter unless you have that.
So Stillwater will serve. They will be off for 10 days. After this game, they will not play again until September 14th. And now Eagan having some difficulty with serve receive, and that's going to be a point for the Wildcats because Olivia Foss couldn't put on the brakes in time and cross the center line. Another one of those unforced errors. Samara Amador, the 5'5" sophomore. And the Wildcats cruising in set 2 so far. And that served a big reason why. And the point for the Ponies. Looks like Eagan, 4 touches.
Great block by Maddie Whittington.
Okay. And of course, for Eagan, if you're curious, the Lakeville schools, they will play them on consecutive matches in the regular season. Lakeville South, Lakeville North, the Lakeville as a city, always a force in section volleyball. As Kendall Kemp finds the back corner. And the tough part about Lakeville schools is you can't have both South and North. They're both in section 1 in most sports.
Nice cover.
Blocked. Yes, a good cover by the Ponies, but Eagan will get another try.
There's a touch on. Oh.
It was deflected. I looked like there was a deflection on my end.
There was a touch, yeah.
I thought, based on where the ball was going, it looked like a Stillwater player had touched it. It's 9-3 in favor of the Wildcats. There's an overpass, and Eagan wasn't ready for it.
That's one that you expect somebody to just jump up and swing at it. Sometimes those one pass things can be very effective. I mean, that's a kill right there.
That does count as a kill. Yeah. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, right?
I'll take it.
Right, in rally scoring, however you get your points, you'll take it. And there's an ace.
Great services
for the Ponies. Gabrielle Bogle. Down the middle and painting the left corner is Abby Moe. Abby doing damage no matter where she is on the floor. Had some good serves to start the second set and scores the point up front there.
That deep one is an effective shot. Spread is still 5.
Nice serve by the Wildcats, and Stillwater can't do anything with it.
Stillwater is having a little bit of trouble on their serve receive, and that is what's causing this big spread right now.
Emma Barron gets credit for the ace on that one. And once again, Stillwater's serve receive has been problematic as Bob Fisher will call a timeout. And just like the first set, serve receive, the service game, Eagan controlling that facet. And that is why they have controlled this match so far.
Yeah, from what we've seen so far, yes.
They lead 12-5 in the second set. We mentioned Stillwater, they'll go on a break. They will have a Saturday matinee on September 14th when they go on the road to play Moorhead. Moorhead, a solid member out of Section 8. They made state a couple years ago and got that upset win over Champlin Park.
Yeah, I believe that they're actually ranked this year. Did you see the rankings last week? I think they're in that list.
Yeah, they're up there. And then the Ponies will come back in town. They will play on the road at Roseville on the 17th and Woodbury. So 3 straight road games in regular season play. Of course, you have the weekend tournaments where you play the condensed sets. Those don't get added until later on. Moorhead ranked 8th in the state, so another test for the Ponies. That's quite a stretch of back-to-back-to-back matches. They played you guys on Thursday as we're back in action here. I know you're not in the top 10 yet. You'll get there, right? Point for Eiffel.
Well, that's the goal.
North St. Paul, a team that has lengthy section history with Stillwater. I say that as if you're not here. Eagan tonight, Moorhead, ranked 8th in the state. Barron dominating on the service. And that will be an error on the part of Ling Wong.
Just missed that cut shot. Very effective shot.
I'll say this much, Bob Fisher, he knows how to utilize those non-conference matches. A lot of tough teams. And Abby Mose scores with the teardrop. I mean, if you think about it, Minnetonka, I know, got back in the mix.
Yeah, they are back in the mix.
So, a good way to help these new players get an understanding as Eagan continues to control the serve of what it's like at the top level. There's a lot of these younger players who didn't see a lot of playing time last year. They were observers. That will be a hitting error on Tori Lilligren. But they got to see, from first-person perspective, what it takes and the toughness that comes with getting to state, as Stillwater did, and as they have done for the last 2 years. And Stillwater comes up with the block. Meredith Bruning. Maddie Whittington will go back in on the rotation.
So this is where Stillwater really needs to, they need to stay in these 3 rotations for as long as possible with Maddie in the front row.
And that will help. Ellie Springer delivers an ace.
Right now they have a difference in their game in these 3 rotations versus the next 3.
Eagan looking to put a stop to that. It won't happen there. Hitting error on Christine Jurgens. Springer, that looked low right from the tip, and it was. Mose serving for the Wildcats. That was the school bell. Don't worry, Stephanie. You and I have long since graduated. Whittington going off speed. And almost a collision, but Eagan was able to get themselves in position. Whittington blocked by Kemp, but no one was there to cover. And Stillwater scores the point. Maddie Whittington, what a comeback story for her. Missed her sophomore season, tearing her ACL, MCL, and meniscus. Was worried if she would return to form after surgery, but as you saw last year, it was just like watching the old Maddie. She was a beast.
And I will say that just the difference between last year and this year in her movement and her play has definitely, you can tell that she just keeps progressing.
Going to Illinois and throws down the block party there. And on top of her return to form, Maddie, I imagine, carrying on a bigger leadership role as the lone member of last year's team, at least among the starters.
That's a huge role to fill.
And she's the only one.
A great job.
Right. Tapped down the overpass for another point. No, they gave Eagan the point. Did Whittington reach over the line? As I was saying, as Eagan holds on to their 7-point lead. I'll finish that thought after this point. Lilligren paints the line.
I try to hit that spot again if I was Stillwater.
Maddie, the only one for some of these folks who didn't get to play a year ago who can relate to the trials, tribulations, the highs, the lows, and all of the roller coaster emotional experiences you go through. from the first game of the season to postseason play. Hitting error on Desjardins. Still a 7-point lead for the Wildcats.
Sollard, really tough, number 10, a really tough server for Stillwater. She won a couple, I think, like 6-point runs against us. So it's very beneficial to keep her back on that line as long as you can. Great short serve, nice out.
Wong, dug by Olchin, and there's the setter dump.
Out of bounds.
So the setter dump pays off for the Ponies.
It's a method of attack, Mike, and sometimes it's very effective.
Well, Stephanie, you should consider doing a tutorial and sharing it to your Instagram. I think your viewership would go up exponentially, especially for dummies like me.
These are not setting hands over here.
Whittington.
Nice serve.
Right.
Whittington has a very effective deep serve.
And you may not think that for someone at 6'4", but that serve helps set up Stillwater's attack there, and they're inching closer. It's down to a 5-point margin.
So anytime that you can make the serve-receive move is where you're going to usually find some trouble.
Right.
And those deep serves, when they make people move back, or something like that.
An overpass on the serve-receive. But Eagan was ready for it. And when you've got Kendall Kemp up front, you can make up for any potential miscue on the serve receive, as we saw.
That's right.
So Kemp going to the bench again. That is a rotational situation. You'll never forget.
I will never forget.
The section final. There's a setter dump on the part of the Wildcats, and a pace off for Lauren Miller. So in the section final, Whittington goes out, and Ted and I were calling the game timeout. I guess we'll have time to share this story.
Yeah, we do.
We didn't realize that it was part of the rotation. We're wondering, why is Whittington out and Kohler in?
Why would Bob take Whittington out?
And then you explained it to us after you watched the game.
That she can't stay in the front row all 6 rotations.
No, you can't do that, and so you will make a rotation based on your strengths and weaknesses. So if there's a setter, if you're not a strong setter, you'll be taken out for someone who can, as an example, or in the back row.
No.
Okay,
so
you can explain it for us.
Rotations, there are 6 of them. So you get to go through the front for 3 of them, and then you're in the back row. Typically, maybe a big middle is subbed out, or the libero goes in for them, so they're not playing back row. So they have to come out. They have to come out when their rotation goes back to.
All we need is a diagram, and it would make perfect sense.
We'll get a diagram.
Diagram, a little animation. Stephanie could go Bob Ross on us and paint a mural with how the rotations work in volleyball.
Let me fix my hair for that one. Anyway, so yeah, a player's only in the front row for 3 rotations.
Right.
So
the outside, left side, middle, and right side, and when they go to the back, you're cognizant of that. And Stillwater, Maddie Olchin did touch the net.
That was a net.
Net, and I think her foot crossed the line anyway.
Okay.
She was out of position, and a point for the Wildcats. Stillwater out of timeouts.
And we actually don't start in our normal rotation when we play against Stillwater, and we adjust that against certain teams so that we can match up players.
Well, and that's why you saw some different faces in the starting lineup tonight, perhaps, for the Ponies. Trying to
no, I think they started how they did the other night.
Desjardins with the off-speed hit. Well, there are a couple of new faces in there. But you're right.
I think they started in the same rotation is what I'm saying. And that what that means is, well, we'll talk about that later.
Where have you been all this time? Eagan with a deep hit, and Springer able to save it. Wildcats will have to try again. Barron with a couple of hitting chances. And that will be Stillwater point. So they touch the net.
Eagan did.
Didn't look like much, but
doesn't take much.
No.
Really.
The antenna, the net, can't touch those.
Off limits. Another nice try on the cut shot, just out.
Hitting error on Ling Wong, and Stillwater back within 5. Can they get closer? That is the question. Vogel in the service position. Last year in the regular season, Eagan won 3-1. Same result in the state semifinal. That was close. Barron almost crossed the line. And scoring off the block is Lauren Rineker. And that's enough for Eagan to call a timeout.
Only a 4-point lead right now.
Right, Stillwater inching closer.
Is actually leading in kills. We have Eagan with more service aces, and Stillwater with more attack errors. I'd like to see a little bit more of a shot selection from them. Maybe a few more lines instead of going cross, getting dug pretty easily.
And again, some of that comes down to the service game. If you can put down a good serve, move the receiver off balance, as you noted, you don't allow your opponent to set up an attack.
Well, but when passing, you're either going to have the option of all 3 hitters, 2, or maybe 1. But the hitters still can control where they send their shot, right? So maybe not as well if it's an off ball. But if they keep it in front of them, they should still be able to control that a little bit.
This series started in 2010. That was a long time ago.
Long time ago. Great serve.
Vogel with the ace.
It's a great moment in the game for something like that to happen.
What were you doing back in 2010, Steph?
Now let me think about that. How old am I?
Barron.
Ooh, right off the block.
And Eagan needed that point. They're 2 away from taking the second set as Stillwater was picking up momentum. And so now it's Barron back into the service spot. Rineker blocked, but no one to cover. And it's a 3-point margin. Whittington thought she was going in. Can't do so just yet.
She's lucky she caught that.
Well, she's a senior. She's going to Illinois. Maddie's IQ, I would say, is
yes.
considerably
She's got a very, very, very high volleyball IQ.
But you're right. That was good that she caught that. But Abby Moe up the middle, down the corner, and Eagan with 4 set points.
Once you get up there, sometimes there's no coming back. They'll make you switch.
Bernsteiner into the net. A rare service error for Eagan.
Stillwater is saying thank you for that error.
Well, not out of the woods yet. Stillwater still down by 3. Eiffel blocked. Rineker with the up.
Great touch by Whittington.
Lilligren, I don't think she made the contact.
They did call
it. Wow. And that's a break for Lilligren because it looked like Lilligren didn't hit it where she wanted to. It may have been a little early. That would have been set point. Instead, we play on.
Right on.
That is set point.
Okay.
Christine Jurgens with a no-doubter, 25-22.
Great line shot.
And we'll talk about that when we return. Eagan 1 set away from victory.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Well, the start of the broadcast, Stephanie, we talked about some of the traditions at Stillwater home volleyball games. There's another one going on as you look at the all-white Stillwater fan base. And we'll take a look at the last set of points in the second set. One of the traditions, Stephanie, as we recap the second set.
Okay.
Sweet Caroline, between sets 2 and 3, the players do a little rendition of it.
Everybody loves Little Neil Diamond in their life.
Well, they did it earlier. They're a little more focused now. Did you have any traditions at North St. Paul, or I should say, do you? You're still coaching there, that are unique to the Polars?
I'm having a mind blank right now, Mike.
Well, maybe this is the year to start one.
We don't have a song tradition. Maybe we should start. Everything seems to revolve around music. Music really pumps people up.
Apparently.
Don't you think so?
Yeah, well, you were pumped up by Hall & Oates at the State Fair. I was pumped up by Weird
concert.
Al. Hall & Oates and Weird Al.
Every song is a hit.
For Hall & Oates?
Yeah. I don't know about Weird Al, but Hall & Oates, yeah.
Hey, what are you trying to say?
Sorry, Mike.
So,
all right, this
Eagan
game
up,
right here.
Eagan up 2-0. And
I think this is going to be another close one.
Stillwater,
it's a feeling in the air.
Inching closer.
You can kind of get the vibe over there from Stillwater.
And how big was that run at the end of the second set? Even though Stillwater fell a few points short, they made Eagan sweat a little bit, forced them to burn a timeout, and
They did. Was it at least 7 points, maybe?
It was a 7-point. Yes, they were down by 7 or 8, got it to within 3, and you made Eagan think for a little bit.
Okay, so what you can see from Stillwater and what that means to us is their heads are in this game, right? Yeah, they're making a few errors, but their heads are still in the game.
And as we start set number 3, I was going to do my Elmer Fudd impression. We would like to acknowledge Joseph's Restaurant and Bar for their sponsorship of Valley Access Live Sports all season long. They renewed their agreement with us. They were with us last year, rejoined us this year. We're happy to have them on board. Thank you, Joseph's Restaurant, for giving us the opportunity for Stephanie to explain the set or dump vocabulary term.
I just let you know what it was called.
Whittington with the teardrop. Eagan picks it up.
Saved that. It was a good save by her. Nice hustle.
Yes, good attack though on the part of Eagan. Big save by Bogle. And Jurgen scores off the block for the Wildcats.
They're just there on the block, maybe with a little more hip turn toward them that they would have kept that one in.
Well, Eagan started with the first rally of the second set, and if you're the Ponies, you can't let Eagan get on a big run early.
Nice cover by Eagan.
Stillwater thought it was going down, and that results in a hitting error from Rineker, so that cover by Eagan, a big time up, could be a big time point. Bernsteiner, who started the game as the server, picks up another ace there.
Struggling a little bit with the serve receive over here on Stillwater.
I would say that is the biggest difference in this game. And Eagan has a couple of players who have jammed Stillwater on the service game. Jurgens picks up another point. And mind you, they're doing this without Kennedy Orr.
Oh, that's a good point.
Which is a testament to their depth and their talent and the culture they've built. Again, they have not had a sub-500 record since 2010.
It's really impressive. That's a long run. It speaks volumes about the coaching and probably the community programs for a younger level, getting people involved.
Whittington scores the kill there, and we're not just talking 1 or 2 games above 500. We're talking about a team that is at the state tournament every single year.
Correct.
Eastridge, though, off to a strong start. They swept Prior Lake, lost to Lakeville North in a 5-set thriller, another perennial. Eastridge would like to knock off Eagan from the Section 3 throne, but the Wildcats have set an amazing precedent. Just one of many teams. And a little bit of chaotic play results in a point for Stillwater. Double contact on the Wildcats. You saw the ball straddle the net and chaos ensued. That's one of those bang-bang plays that
Eagan
really puts you on the spot.
Hasn't really had any ball handling errors this game.
Diving up by Olgin. Whittington straddled the net. And that would be a point for the Ponies.
Lucky she let that one go.
It fell out of bounds.
You saw the hesitation with trying to reach for that.
And again, when the ball straddles the net like that, who knows where we'll end up. Eiffel out of bounds.
Great short serve by Stillwater.
And Stillwater ties it up in the 3rd set. Eiffel. Cross court. Sienna, the 6'1 sophomore. And you look at this Eagan roster, even though there's no Kennedy Orr, you've got key contributors in the sophomore class.
I'm looking at the fact that their libero is 5'9".
How often do you see that?
Well, the thing that's... Oh, that's an Eagan ball. I don't see it very often. But if you think about it, think about how much more court they can cover.
At 5'9"
if they're
versus
quick with arms and
5'5" or 5'4". I know a lot of liberos are not that tall. Hitting error on Whittington. Well, your libero, Jenna Rebelke, I think is 5'4".
She's really tiny. She can read the ball very well.
Nice block. I believe that was Kendall Kemp on the play.
She's right there.
And of course, being tiny doesn't mean you're a terrible libero, but as you noted, at 5'9".
Well, you just have a little bit more,
option.
Wingspan and or
a little more zone coverage, if you will.
That's a great line shot. Oh, not quite in.
Just out of bounds. Right idea for Desjardins.
Right idea. I would do that again.
See, that's another term I picked up on, line shot.
Oh, is that new to you?
New to me, yes.
Okay.
I mean, down the line shot doesn't make much of a difference, but you see all these vocab terms. I'm going to sound a whole lot smarter the next time I'm on the mic. Another point for the Wildcats. Bernsteiner. Timeout, Stillwater. Go ahead.
We'll talk about this a little bit. Cross shot, deep cross, cut, line shot. You like to call tips teardrops? Is that your?
You hear that sometimes. It's a little teardrop when you tip it down, and it's kind of like a teardrop.
Just want to cry about it, especially if it scores.
Well, yes, if you get the point, it's tears of joy. If you don't get the point,
sad tears.
Yes, it's sad tears. Salty tears.
Salty tears. What have you been eating?
What have I been eating?
Is there a lot of salt in your diet?
No, just a lot of bad puns and one-liners.
Oh, we haven't heard very many. You got to step it up. Yeah, please pick up your game, Mike.
Well, anyway, speaking of the soundtrack, we get a little more old school with I Will Survive, Gloria Gaynor, I believe. You were telling me before the North St. Paul Stillwater game that your North St. Paul players didn't necessarily appreciate Rick Astley and Hall & Oates.
Well, so I don't...
You and I guess, grew up on more old school tunes.
Mainly the music mainly the music in practice is hip-hop, trap, rap. And so one day when somebody didn't control the music fast enough, I turned on Rick Astley. Some people liked it. Some people danced.
Point for the Wildcats.
Back row attack by the setter. Did you notice that?
I did see that,
okay.
And I think Foss crossed the center line. That's why Eagan scored.
No. It was a back row attack by the setter.
Oh, they can't do that?
No.
Olchin.
So she's back row and she jumped.
Oh, past the. Okay.
No, not.
Did she pass a certain line, or you just can't send it over?
If you're a back row setter, you can't jump at the nets and jump it.
Okay, you can't go at the nets.
No, you can come up to the net. You just can't jump and attack. If you're in the back row. Okay, here's number 10. Let's see if she can get to work against Eagan like she did against North St. Paul.
11-5, and that will not help the cause for Stillwater. It's 12-5 Eagan.
So just to give you some kind of perspective right now, we have a 12-5 game. Eagan's up. Stillwater has 5 errors. Eagan has 2.
And that point set up by the service from Lauren Miller, 5'8" senior.
Eagan with 5 kills, Stillwater with 2.
Another good serve by the Wildcats, and they are running away with set number 3. Maddie Olchin getting an explanation from the head official. Woodington scores there, beats Kemp on the attack.
Stillwater really needed that. Let's see what Maddie can do with her serve.
You say, those officials, by the way, they seem to recognize you before the game. The head official over there?
He's been around for a while.
Okay, so you've seen him around at games?
I think he was around when I was playing. Great deep serve.
And that goes into the Raptors, and I mentioned this in Thursday's game, especially in gyms with lower clearances like Stillwater. If it goes into the ceiling, it's almost like playing a pop-up in baseball. Sometimes the wind or something will alter the trajectory.
Ping pong machine.
Yep. And it's hard to recover from that.
Nice up.
That was Woodington. Fires and got it.
Very effective back row attack.
Now, she didn't jump at the net in the eyes of the official, or can she go get it?
No. Any back row player can jump behind the 10-foot line. They can land in front of it, but they can jump behind the 10-foot line to attack.
So they can jump behind, they just can't go in front.
They can land in front of it,
but they can't
but a
be in
back row
front.
player can't go up to the net and hit right at the net.
Okay, so they can't be in front of the line before the attack.
Correct.
I knew that 10-foot line was there for a reason, and there's a let service ace. And let Samara Amador tell you how beautiful that was.
It's gorgeous. So when a middle, and I think you know this, a lot of times you see liberos going in for middles in the back row, but they can only serve for 1. So that's, you see Maddie Whittington serving. And she's obviously a very effective server, which is why she doesn't get subbed out.
Another point for the Wildcats as they close in on a straight set win. Go ahead.
That's usually the person then that you want to attack if you're the other team while they're in there in the back row, because you know that's not their specialty. But she does a great job on defense.
And that time, Olivia Foss crossed the center line.
That was a net call.
Yep. Landed in front of the center line, net call. And the Wildcats up by 10. And
so we're pretty even on the kill count here. It's just the discrepancy is a lot more errors on Stillwater's part.
And I think it starts with the service game from Eagan. How many times have they caught Stillwater out of position? And there's an old-fashioned kill from Kendall Kemp. But how many times has Eagan put Stillwater out of position and they just can't get the attacks they want?
Yeah, so we actually call that getting them out of system. And sometimes on that serve game, it's a lot more mental. than it is about your actual talent. You're just waiting for that ball to come at you. Nice play.
Maddie Olchin.
Great snap.
And speaking of comebacks from injury, Maddie Olchin was in Whittington's position last year. Maddie missed most of the season due to an ankle injury, was able to return in time for the playoffs. So the Stillwater team, some examples of overcoming adversity. And that will be a point for the Ponies. And we mentioned Whittington going Division I, as one of the seniors from last year's team is playing Division I volleyball. Reese Kohler at Seton Hall.
Have you been following her?
To a point, well, Reese was a fun personality for the Stillwater team. Very outgoing in interviews. There's Rennifer with the kill there. And Reese Kohler, even though she's no longer a Stillwater student, played a big part in helping Maddie Whittington get through recovery from her surgery. Just doing what she could to keep her spirits up, and Bogle drops an ace.
Great time for an ace for Stillwater.
Let's see if she can get pocket aces here. You picked up on it, didn't you?
I did.
I used that term a couple of times in the North St. Paul game. No ace there, but Ponies trying to rally once more.
That's in.
That is in. Eagan thought it was out.
Stillwater's ahead on the kill count. Now, have you noticed, Mike, that a lot of times if the setter takes the first ball, the libero will take the second ball? That's usually how a lot of teams have that structured.
And Eagan paints the line. Now, I know liberos are defensive specialists. Are they also good passers? Or is it just the nature of a serve receiver?
That comes with being a defensive specialist.
Okay, so
they usually are,
so
yes, you're better passers.
So it's not uncommon for a setter to get the up and a libero to set. Ace for the Wildcats. Speaking of liberos, can you explain, as Stillwater called the timeout, how the off-colored jersey came to be?
No.
That is an interesting
but I know that
facet to the game.
So one thing that I feel like some people don't understand is in the Minnesota State High School League rules, there are a few pages on uniform limitations with measurements and what you can have on your uniform and stripes and different colors and things like that. Libero obviously has to be kind of an opposite. They have to be very noticeable that it's an opposite jersey, right?
And so
you
it's
can tell.
Right. They just often wear the alternate color. So Stillwater, in their case, wearing black.
No, so usually,
they have
so
like a home
example,
and road jersey, is what I mean. Or no?
No, not necessarily. We have 3 jerseys, so
Okay.
it needs to just be an opposite.
Okay, so
color.
if you're wearing
and
white,
I'm not sure about these guys. They might
Right.
have 3. They might have 3. I can't remember everything that I've seen them in, but
I don't think that's the first thing on your scouting report is how many
it's
jersey
not.
combinations.
It isn't.
That would be something I would keep track of.
Yeah.
As the statistical nerd that I am. But Eagan up by 8. Stillwater out of timeouts. They have dominated this game, particularly on serve. That's where Stillwater has had the most difficulty. Olchin will catch Eagan out of position there. Maddie Olchin, she's come down with a few points. And even if
she's a very
Stillwater,
effective player
right.
on this team.
And even if this ends up being a defeat for Stillwater, this will help them later in the postseason. Again, a tough non-conference slate. In conference, you figure Eastridge will be a contender. Mounds View has a decent program. Roseville, I would say, got a little weaker with Ariel Carr moving to North St. Paul. But we'll see how they perform. They have Wayzata later this week. Wayzata, one of the top 10 teams. The Lake Conference, they put out some good programs over there. That is a kill for Kaylin Madison, the libero. But again, at 5'9".
Let's go back to these tough matchups. I mean, there's no better way to see what you're going to face in postseason
than by facing strong teams like Eagan.
But it gives you a little bit kind of at the beginning of the season, a good chance for those new players to get right into it and feel what it's like to be playing against someone tough. You don't want your entire season to be easy games and then all of a sudden the hard ones are right at the end and they've never experienced more of that challenge.
Whittington throws down the block. Stillwater, this is nothing new. They did the same thing last year, having Moorhead and Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Playing you guys.
We were at the end of the season last year.
Right, instead of the beginning.
Nice shot.
Eagan thought they had the up, but
Egan's calling a timeout.
Stillwater cuts the margin back to 5. We've seen this in the second and third set. Stillwater can inch within striking range. They've had a hard time getting past that hump. So we'll be with you for a few more minutes. And for Stillwater, whatever happens here, they'll have 10 days between games. So you get a tough quartet of matches to begin the season as you look at that last point by Rinneker. And then you'll get 10 days to go over some notes, work on some things in practice. And
it's a lot of practice time.
That is a lot of practice time, but probably a good time on the part of Stillwater.
Yeah, I would say so.
That'll give them a chance for Bob Fisher to instruct some of the newer starters, some of the younger players on what to look for, what to be prepared for, and I'll be curious to see what they look like when they play Moorhead on the 14th.
Yeah, and it's actually a good time to work people really hard because you don't have, usually it's alternate practice and game day, and you have to kind of be aware of that with not overusing legs or arms or
they have a game
like
on Thursday. Now, granted, it's Chaska. Chaska not at the same caliber as Stillwater, I would imagine, but that doesn't give you much time to prepare. Maddie Whittington. It's a flock party, and Egan's not invited. But you sent out an invite to Ted, right? Our director?
Ted gets an invite.
Ted gets an invite. 4-point margin. There's the setter dump.
She caught onto that.
Stillwater did catch onto that, and they get a point out of it. Stillwater not fooled. Tori Lilligren makes it a 3-point margin. Ellie Springer. She would love for the Ponies to get on a rally here and force a 4th set. But Sienna Eiffel has other ideas. That was a rocket.
That was a rocket. So the other thing, Mike, about those line shots is versus a cross-court shot, you have a lot less time to react. It's a shorter distance, right? So you can see that ends in being a little pretty effective.
It's a matter of math, folks. You have less distance to cover on a line shot versus a cross. Maddie Whittington. She's going to be a lot of fun to watch in Illinois. And speaking of talent, the Big Ten, they produce a lot of it. Minnesota, Nebraska, Illinois has been up there.
Minnesota's been fun to watch the past few years.
Oh, they have been. Wisconsin as well. I'll never forget going to a Minnesota-Nebraska game, sellout crowd at the PAV. Minnesota came back from 2 sets down to win it. And you couldn't find a seat.
Very packed in there. Sold out, right?
Yes. Well, the Minnesota volleyball, it's a crowd attraction. Especially with Hugh McCutcheon leading the program. And Hugh McCutcheon, as we continue this point, instrumental in introducing boys volleyball to the high school ranks. Hitting error on the Wildcats, and it's a 2-point margin. So Eagan 2 away from winning this match, but Stillwater, they want to hang around a little bit longer.
Boys volleyball has been present on the East Coast and West Coast for quite a while. It's kind of fun that it's getting introduced here.
Good serve by Foss, catching Eagan out of position. A little bit of confusion. Stillwater able to, I thought they had to save for a minute.
They almost had that save.
They almost did. But it goes back
under
to
the net.
Yep, under the net, and it goes back to one miscue screwing up an entire play. There was a little bit of confusion on the set, and that puts Stillwater out of sync.
You know, there's a lot of what happened? There's a lot of movement that happens on the court, And when you have new people and they're not used to those intersections and kind of who's covering what, that'll get a lot more fluid as the year goes on too.
Jarnett, that stays in play. Eagan with match point. Eiffel looking to deliver it, and that goes out.
Was a hammer. Whew.
That was a hammer, but not in bounds.
Not in bounds, so it doesn't matter.
And as Stillwater would say, you can't touch this.
I mean, I'm going to say that Eiffel is one that you are going to need to watch over the...
You missed it, didn't you?
She's going to be one to watch, what?
You missed it.
I missed your joke, I'm sorry.
Yes, you missed my joke.
What, can you repeat it? We have a towel timeout here.
Well, Eiffel tried to drop the hammer, but it fell out of bounds, so in a way you could say you can't touch this.
Can't touch this.
I know you were around for that.
I was. Hammer pants. It's hammer time.
And at least you were around to remember it. I was, 3 years old when that song was a hit?
Am I older than you?
1990. You are older than me, I think.
More hair, though.
Yes, more hair. Well, that's not saying much. Everyone has more hair than I do.
Fair.
Stillwater trying to win this third set. Eagan looking to close this out.
Good reaction by Maddie.
Off-speed, yes. On the off-speed hit.
Great up.
Stillwater refusing to go down. Maddie Whittington throws it down the middle.
That's huge. Huge point.
But it's still match point for Eagan. Stillwater needs to get another point.
It is still
but
match
look
point.
who's serving.
I'm confident with Zoller back there.
Let's see. You don't want an error now.
That's out of system right there.
Eagan still has a timeout left if they need it. They would prefer to take match point and get out of here. Olchin ties it up.
They actually call that as a net call, so that's where that point goes.
It's a point for Stillwater nonetheless. Eagan calls a timeout, and that was a good hit by Olchin. Eagan didn't have anyone to cover there. So we're going to have extra points.
Yes. This is where it gets fun.
Well, like the third set of Thursday's game was settled in extra points. 29-27. I know because I was watching it from up there.
Yeah.
All right, Stephanie, you had to navigate an extra point situation on Thursday. If you're Stillwater, you've got the momentum. If you're Eagan, how do you contain this? You had to do the same thing on Thursday.
I mean, you have to treat it kind of like it's, you just have to mentally stand and treat it like it's any other point. What you cannot do is let down and not play tough. You still have to play to score. Sometimes you see people get a little nervous, maybe send over some easy free balls, not attack it like they would, but you have to stay with it. No pressure on the serve.
How about this rally, though, by the Ponies? They were down by 6 or 7, it looked like. This was a done deal, and now Stillwater making Eagan flinch a little bit.
Good for them. They really stepped up.
And you know what? Whatever happens, this is something you'll take a note of later in the season. Like, hey, we pushed Eagan to extra points.
It's huge.
Sometimes progress is incremental. That's a hitting error on Zoller, and Eagan with match point again. Today, you force Eagan to play extra points and you both of their timeouts. If you meet again in the postseason, different outcome. Well, look what happened last year in your series. But let's see if Eagan can close out. Jurgens, can she do it? No!
We're back tied.
So if you don't know, last year, Stillwater won in straight sets in the regular season meeting with North St. Paul. Section final, Ted and I were on hand for this. You took the first set and then forced the fifth set against Stillwater. Almost played the upset card.
You have a really good memory, Mike. Yeah, and we played those games within, 2 weeks of each other? So we just really had to change our strategy of what we were doing, and it was very effective. Great cut shot, but nice up.
You just never know what can happen with an untimed sport, and Maddie Whittington came a little late. She was eyeing up the ball and was a split second behind.
I'm getting nervous sitting back here.
You probably were just as nervous on Thursday.
Yeah, yes, correct. Stillwater is a tough team. They're an amazing program.
And they've done a lot to build it up over the last few years. Winning back-to-back section
Great
titles
cover.
for the first time in school history. Free ball for the Wildcats. Can they close it out here? Yes. Emma Barron gives Eagan straight set victory. Although they had to push it to extra points to decide it in set number 3. We'll wrap things up when we return. You're watching high school volleyball.
Look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Observe a domesticated human family in their natural habitat, known to their species as the backyard.
Hey, you think I should light it now?
I think it's good.
Yeah?
Oh dear, someone is about to burn a pile of debris that's too tall, which can start a wildfire. Wait, could it be? Blimey, it is.
It's Smokey.
It's Smokey Bear. What a legend.
Hey, it's Smokey. Sorry, it was too high. Right.
Watch as he astutely ensures that there's no wind, and how he removes some of the debris to create a smaller, safer burning pile.
No, you said make it bigger, baby. The bigger, the better.
Take note of our fearless furry friend here, humans.
I appreciate it. Fist bump.
Watching you.
Smokey's done it again.
Bye, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Eagan stays undefeated with a straight set win over Stillwater, 27-25. The score in set 3. Stillwater falls to 1-3. But Stephanie Blanda, we saw Stillwater get progressively better, and it may not be a victory you want, but sometimes you'll take those small victories. However, the difference, especially in the third set, hitting errors, we saw Stillwater tie it up, and then they would undo the momentum they built with hitting errors, including that big one from Whittington at the end.
I mean, that seemed like a big one because it was at the end.
There were a couple of others.
Then 26-25 or something like that. But on our count, unofficial count over here, you have 13 errors to 7. So you can see where that little bit of difference could have gone in Stillwater's favor, and they could have maybe pulled that game out. They were up on kills that game, but closing the score. They were in the game, and I think that they should know that they can hang.
Yes, they can. Now, on that note, how can these new starters for Stillwater, how can they build confidence? They didn't get the win, but as you noted, they got closer each game. They forced extra points against Eagan. Maybe the first time Eagan has used both timeouts in a set all season. That can go a long way. It's one of those little deposits that could pay big dividends later in the year.
Experience builds confidence. That's huge. So there's this experience and more time on the court, more games, that's what's going to build confidence. I mean, it takes a lot of personal work as well by each individual player, but experience definitely builds confidence. That makes you more comfortable with your teammates.
It certainly does, and Stillwater will have plenty of chances to build on that confidence and experience. In practice sessions, they're off for a week and a half. They will not be back in action until September 14th. They go on the road to play Moorhead. And, of course, we'll have the live broadcast of what should be another big game, Stillwater and East Ridge. Those two, when they meet, often decide the Super Minis Conference title. And East Ridge, they're in the top 10 this year. They could be a team to watch in Section 3 where Eagan resides. So this young Stillwater team, it was rough early on, but they learned a few things that will help them. For Eagan, I imagine we'll see them again in the state tournaments if they have a say in it.
Well, and remember, they were without one of their...
Kennedy Orr, right.
Without Kennedy Orr, so that could have thrown a few extra points in this game. It could have made the margin a little different. It probably affected the flow of the game on Eagan's side as well.
In any event, it's a straight set win for the Wildcats. They moved to 3-0. They're back in action on Thursday. As we noted, Stillwater, they go on a little break. They will return at Moorhead. Should be a fun road trip for those ponies, making the trek to the northwest part of the state. And our next live broadcast will be Friday. Stillwater and Roseville High School football. Ted LaRue and Jerry Otto Jr. will have the call for you. You can watch that live on Channel 15 and on YouTube. That does it here from the stable in Oak Park Heights. Eagan stays undefeated with a straight set win over Stillwater. For Stephanie Blanda and the rest of our crew on Valley Access Channels, I'm Mike Beaton. We'll see you next time.
The preceding broadcast of Stillwater Pony Sports on VAC TV has been supported by Joseph's Restaurant. Thank you for watching VAC TV Sports.